Oh, hello.
Good morning. Oh
Hey.
no, no.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, we back again.
With your was it familiar faces?
Okay. Today we going to talk about space. My base, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we have to uh to talk about our last voting polls
Mm-hmm.
about religion, and the result is no religion. No religion is the winner.
So how's everybody's feeling about that, Daniel? What do you choose?
I believe I voted to accept religion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe something, that's cool. Just bring it up with you. As long as you don't mess with other people, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, cool. Uh,
so I guess
everyone,
it's gonna be a bunch of atheists in our, space colonies or whatever.
mm-hmm. Should we start our today's topic?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Um,
So should I do this or you do it? How do we go about it?
you know you, of course you.
All right, so we're gonna be talking about like Mars habitats, right? So okay, as you see here, what is it then, and why do we need it? So I guess we have to like go back and then kind of ask like, why do humans build houses or shelter or sediments? Why do we do that, guys?
Because I want to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Is why because it's dangerous outside, and the shelter or the house can protect human from any dangerous things outside.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree. If it comes down also to biology. I mean, if you look at humans, we don't have shells, we don't have armor, we don't have anything that the cooler animals on Earth have. So,
Mm-hmm.
we can't hide in a shell, we can't protect ourselves. So we need a safe place to be safe from predators and the environment.
Yeah, it's true. Like I think it's basically a human needs. It's crucial for survival, as as mentioned. In case of natural hazards or any conflict. So yeah, security, safety, and protections from illness or whatsoever.
Hmm.
So it's really important. It's something that definitely would help increase our chance in survival, right? So if you want to live longer, then you should stay in a place that is nice and safe. And why am I saying that in three different ways? Sorry. Okay.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
if you stick with that point, you can look
Mm-hmm.
at different parts of Earth and the different climates, different um, environment. If life is sort of easy,
Mm-hmm.
food is easy to get, you don't have very many predators, the weather is okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really need a very strong house or structure, but you go
Yeah.
to places where either it's very hot or it's very cold, and you know the predators are bigger, things like that. That's where you see people build castles and big forts and crazy things like this. So not only is it safety from the environment, but it's safety from other people and other things.
Yeah.
Right.
So now that you bought that, right, so I think I'm gonna throw this next one to Gig. So because you gave us like previous presentations when the people chose to go to Mars, right? So do you mind giving us a little flashback about what Mars is like? You know, the weather and geographically. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the weather on Mars is kind of cold. Is for example, today Mars reached um 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 Mars reached minus 4 degrees Celsius at the highest point, and it reached minus 98 Celsius for lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed it seemed uh it seemed Mars kind of cold, and the geography on Mars is actually it's like it's a bit familiar like Earth, and um, is dusty on Mars too. Mars is a red planet, right? It's red because it's the atmosphere is full of red dust.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. This is what is it? Basic usual facts about Mars, something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
mhm. uh,
What about, is there like other, what do you say, like hazards, something that it's not good for human on Mars?
oh yeah, the dust on Mars is really dangerous. It's really it's bigger than PM 2.5, but it's also dangerous, more dangerous. hmm This is this is the one dangerous thing on Mars for human.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
if
heard.
we
Yeah, sorry, go on.
if we want to live on Mars, we need a shelter to protect us from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also heard like we probably gonna have a lot of radiation issue too, right?
Oh yeah, because it's mm, the atmosphere on Mars is not familiar, like it's not familiar to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere on Earth, the atmosphere on Earth is uh protect us from most dangerous radiation, and Mars is not familiar. Mars is not familiar like atmosphere on Earth. Yeah, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So yeah, like based from what Gig said, right? So with all these informations and all these factors, it's definitely gonna affect how we design our habitats.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in our next slide, so you can put that up, um, to talk about this briefly, right? So of course there are like different way of you can, how to say, like designs a habitats on Mars, and anyone here familiar with any of these?
Uh, the dome one
Mm-hmm.
looked familiar to me, and the modular too.
Mm-hmm. So should I go ahead one by explain it one by one?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess, okay, we can start with like what we most familiar with, which is like modular stuff, right? Or you build it on the surface. And the reason why that is because, you know, it's mostly efficient, right? Like, you know, it's probably like a first generation sort of thing to early settlement. So you just kind of have like these really like easy to install or place module that connect together, and then you sort of make like a stations. Yeah, so I think the other day that we were having a conversations, Daniel was briefly mentions about how was it like SpaceX or Musk have a or people have a plan to knock down the Starship over, right?
Yeah, that was one idea. Instead of trying to build a structure, you use the actual ship as a habitat. The journey to get to Mars would use up a whole lot of fuel, and so if you picture what the I use this water bottle. If you picture the spaceship, and the first half is for people, and then the bottom half is for fuel. Well, when you're all done with that fuel, you can empty everything, and you're basically doubling or tripling your living space. So you can lay that flat, and you have all this space, and then you could put regolith on top of that, and that would be a natural protector against radiation.
Yeah. So yeah, besides like, you know, whether it's Starship, spaceships, like sometimes it's just like a pop, like Lego, was it cargo that, you know, could be converted into like a living space. Probably most cost efficient too, to be honest. And it's probably something that we probably gonna do when we first arriving on Mars too. And then Daniel also brought up like regolith, right? So, you know, of course, like having these modula on the surface is not going to be the safest things, right? You also wanted to use, you know, regolith or basically, was it Mars soil, you know, to help cover those up. And these will ultimately help, you know, with the radiations and with other kinds of protections too. Because you also don't want it. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, if you do that method, you would also be saving like weight and material. I'm not sure how they do it now, but radiation is stopped with material like lead and other things like that. So, which is quite heavy. But if you have these modular structures and you put regolith, you don't have to bring or build an extra layer of material to protect against radiation.
Yep. And besides that, it's always good for you to use whatever natural resources on Mars in building. You know, save costs and why not, right? And besides this, we could also underground, like underground city too. It's for the same reason, like there is like radiation protections, and it's safer to the ground, I guess. I don't know anything much about this. Do you guys have any like insight or opinions on?
Okay, well, I'll go. The two like challenges of this is that you have to. The main one is that you have to get underground. And in order to do that, you have what they call lava tubes, I believe, where maybe there was ancient lava or water going through, and it creates these caves. So you can go under there, and you have natural cave system, so you don't have to build anything. but you still have to find it. And as of yet, I don't think they're explored. The other method is that we just take a big drill and go down, which is an extra piece of machinery that you need, and everything that goes into making a tunnel. So, making sure that the tunnel doesn't collapse, the time that it takes to build that, and all the work and the effort. So I think it's still too early to know if it's a good, if the pros outweigh the cons. It's still too early. Like, if you're going through all this work just to get away from radiation, maybe it's cheaper or more efficient to do something else. I think it's a little too early to figure that out yet.
Yeah, and I think in our early episodes we are talking about like potentially building it within like, how you call it, like the cracks.
Yeah, like the canyon.
Yeah, that's also help, like, I don't know, shape, protection, shield, same thing. And yeah,
I just had a stupid idea pop up in my head about dusty atmosphere. If we just bring air purifier without the bigger one and let it do its work. Can we do that?
I think now that you mentioned that, it's kind of remind me of a Total Recall. Like we have those fans. Remember, like when like the bad guy go outside and they're literally like dying.
No.
I think an air purifier might help with dust. And I think that's all it does. We would probably need something a little more than that.
Yeah.
Like air, but so the air purifier would help clean the space we live in. I think that's about it. I was trying to be nice.
Thanks.
So yeah, that's gonna help then. But like, it's not gonna help with everything.
Right.
It ain't much work, but it wasn't on. Was it? It ain't much, but it's an honest work. All right, so enough with like messing around. The next one is gonna be dome, right? This one is different because earlier we were talking about using lithograph, to cover things up and radiation protections. Now, do anybody knows with domes, like how do we do that? And yeah, any idea, guys?
Well, can you explain the two pictures that you have up top right, because they both look sort of like domes.
Okay, it actually not, because the one in the middle, it's still kind of like modular, because it's still like a bunch of living space and then connected through like small gateway. And then
I mean the top middle.
Yeah, top middle, yes.
Okay.
So, but that one is like, this is how you use the module together with like Legolas to create like an architect, like to shape the Legolas. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like stylish, right? So, living on Mars doesn't have to be boring if you have 3D printing.
Right.
Turning, like, how do I say? It's kind of like printing cements, right? Cement? Yeah, so you be able to build like any shapes that you want.
Right.
So yeah. So now should we go back to our dome?
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, so as I was asking everyone, like, with domes, how do you protect like the radiation? So there's like a couple ways you can do it, I guess, which is like aerogels or water too. So if you're like all for the aesthetics of it, right? Well, of course, you want to live in a place where you can see things. You don't underground is all safe and all that, but can you imagine what kind of psychological issues we're gonna have without be able to look and then see the light? You know,
Yeah.
that's gonna be quite depressing, right? Because with human body, we wanted to go outside, we wanted to see things, see the horizons, and all of that stuff. So with domes, it does help, you know, us with that kind of lifestyles, I say. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like one giant domes and you have everything inside. So in case of emergency, that might be a little tricky. I don't know, something break and everybody might die or something. But it's cool. The aesthetic is nice. So yeah, I think I pretty much cover all the different types that we could build on Mars, I think. Should we move on to the orbital base or space base, which is today's topic?
Okay.
So yeah, today we're gonna be talking about space base basically, and for different styles as well. So you can call it whatever, style-based, gateway, or whatnot. And Gik, why do we going for space base again?
Um. For space rail, I think it's like other option to living on Mars, but not living on its surface.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know about much prawns.อะไรวะ Prawn and con. How you guys pronounce that?
Pros and cons, yeah. We can talk about it today. I mean, I'm sure that we did a little bit of research, and we can exchange what we know, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move on to another slide?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about modular station styles. One Braun wheel styles, and then O'Neill cylinder styles, and then lastly Starfleet, right? So go ahead, Gik.
I
Do you
I
think?
know I know the reasons why we are going to talk about space rail
Yeah.
today because our last voting about where you want to live, which part on Mars you want to live, and the winner is orbiter, right?
Yeah, orbital. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. This is a one of the reason why we talking about space rail.
Yep, it's true, which is surprising choice too. I wasn't expected that, but I guess it does, make things a little more different, right? Because how often do people really talk about building a space base? Or maybe they do. I'm just not that nerdy enough to realize
I
that.
would be
Maybe.
curious to find out everyone who voted to live in space.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that? If we're going to Mars, why not live on Mars? Why space base? I'm sure they
Maybe
have a
they're
good reason.
afraid of. Maybe they're afraid of Elon Musk like nuking the Mars plan,
Maybe.
or maybe they just want to be in 0G.
Yeah.
But life gonna be a heck of a difficult living in 0G.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to talk about modular stations.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
I have a story about this. I used to be I used to be invited to talk to architecture student in Bangkok University about
Mm-hmm.
living living on moon. Oh, architecture on moon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And one one group of them are talking about modular modular station. They have an idea from modular architecture designs, which is a design that approach subdivides a system into a smaller part. And I asked them why they choose the modular system design. They and what if one of the module broken or accident happen inside? They said we just lock I don't know lock down and push the one that have problem outside to the space and connect the two module again. And I think it's kind of good idea, and we use modular architecture designs on Earth too. It's
Mm-hmm.
it easiest to build and I don't know ประหยัด พี่จูเลีย
Um,
cheaper
พูดถึงเรื่องเงินเหรอหรือว่า
ใช่ค่ะ
yeah, cost efficient.
Yeah. I think modular station might be the good idea for that, and the ISS station use a modular system design too, so it's
Yep.
kind of realistic.
It is really realistic and definitely the most doable one, right now.
Mm-hmm.
It also seems to have a lot of safety benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the modular design can actually be used in all the other designs, whether it's orbital or on land. But with the orbital, if we look at like the military here on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and you have submarines and ships, like you were saying about if there's a problem, you just close the door and the problem is contained, and then everyone else is safe.
Mm-hmm.
So from a safety standpoint, it seems very safe.
Yep. So if you don't like somebody, just put them all in one module and bye.
Bye.
So yeah.
What aboutพี่จูเลีย what are you going to talk about? Is this one
Oh,
brand view, the real one,
one
right?
brown, yeah, one brown wheel. So basically the design is look exactly like a steering wheel.
Mm.
So let's talk a little bit about it. So yeah, so it was created by a German American aerospace engineers and space architect, which he's famous like for being NASA engineering like program managers and then chief architects of the Apollo 75, and then also like development of like the V2 rocket too.
Mhm.
This concept was kind of proposed in like 1903, and it was like expanded upon in 1929. So basically, you see the wheel, right? So the concept is like for it to, you know, rotate around the center points. So it could potentially give you the feel of gravity. You know, have you ever played one of those like how do you call it, that how do you call it, like
Spinner?
yeah, right? So
Yeah.
like the faster you spin, what
Like
happened?
a top. A top?
A top?
You mean, you know, where you throw it with the string and it spins? It has a
No, no, no,
needle
no,
on the
no. It's
bottom.
like where you sit and then you keep like moving the wheel and then it spin faster.
Oh, at like a park, like
Yeah,
a theme park. Yeah.
yeah. So what happened was like, you know, when you do that, it's like you kind of feel like it's gonna push you out of the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So with this, it's kind of same thing. So the faster it spin is kind of like supposed to like generate like a gravity. So you're kind of like angle near the center point, and then your feet will, you know, how do I should I draw it out?
Like
I'm sorry, I'm just like trying to like explain what I like my head, but I wasn't sure.
like
So
centrifuge.
yeah, I think
Mm.
so. Wait. How do I do this? Can you guys see my stickman drawing? So you know, like,
Oh.
so at the arrow where the arrow is pointing is like the center point, and then you can see your feet. Wait, not your feet on the other end. So yeah, basically that will happen, and then you could, you know, generate like gravity, because like when you're living in space for so long, it's not really good for your body, right? Like you start losing bone densities, and you know your muscle become weaker, and this could potentially be good if you wanted to live in space,
Mm.
because they simulate gravity, and then you know I think it can be calculated to have the same gravity as Earth, from my understanding. Forgot exactly the number for it, but yeah. And it does kind of like a sci-fi concept, but actually it might be feasible to do. It might take a lot of resources, and it's gonna be really, really expensive. So yeah, it's not gonna be the first choice, but I'm sure that NASA or, you know, space people probably think about doing this too. So I can talk a little bit about like pros and cons about it, right? So yeah, like I said, you know, it's definitely good for health, you know, because you can feel to like you can feel little to zero effects from a long-term low gravity. And then so you can actually move it around. It doesn't tie to like a particular planet. Yes, we said that we base on Mars, but if we wanted to move it to somewhere, we can do that too, you know. And but the cons of it is that yeah, one of the massive issues, you can't really expand it. So if you build one, you can choose to build like multiple sizes, maybe 100 to 1,000 or something. If you choose to build that size, you can like change the design, because that could potentially affect the way it's operate. So what you build, you stick to it, and then if there's more people, then you either have to move, or yeah,
Or you
or it's
build
gonna be
another one.
overcrowded. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's the cons of it. And the next one, it's O'Neill cylinder styles. This one is pretty much the same with like one Braun like concept. Instead of kind of look like a steering wheel, it just look like a tube floating in space, and then it's kind of like turn around the same way. So person, you know, O'Neill, he's like, I think, American physicist. and then I think he came up with this in his books in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the different with with this one though, I don't think it could generate it as much gravity like the one Braun wheel one, and because it's massive, so it's probably less likely to be feasible. It's like it's a massive tube in the sky, so like in the space, right? So cost more resources for sure, and it's gonna cost even more money. But yeah, good thing is it could mimic gravity. Might be less, but it's still something. So what do you think about those two? Because that's all information I have on it. I think.
It looks like and I guess it's hard to scale these things, but it looks like the O'Neill design, the O'Neill cylinder, has a lot more living space, and of course it all depends on how big you can actually make these things. And I think with the O'Neill design, the main point is that you're trying to create a world that's connected, where the Van Braun system is a lot smaller. Just on the hello, Fiona. Just on the diagrams and the models. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, I was sidetracked.
Does it make sense to you, Kate? Or should we make Daniel explain it again, but slowly?
Yeah, but it's both of them one valve, and the O'Neill cylinder is so difficult.
Yeah, because the other two on either side of that chart, either modular or fleet, it's the physics are a little bit more understandable. So I mean, it's all rocket science, and so it's complex no matter what. But
yeah,
you're dealing with centrifugal force, which is not, if you spin something at a constant rate, it will generate gravity. It may be that you always have to be accelerating in order to achieve that effect. So like, back in school, they always mention you have a bucket of water on a rope and you turn it in a circle, and the water doesn't fall out because of the force. But if you were to just stop it, then of course it falls on you.
Yeah.
In space, you would just start floating around. That wouldn't happen. But so in order to create this sort of effect, I would actually think that the von Braun system is more feasible because it's smaller and you have less mass to accelerate. Which I'm guessing, instead of motors spinning, so if you have the main ship and the wheel is spinning around the ship, it's not motors, it would be more like rocket engines. I'm not sure. But the smaller it is, the less mass it has, the easier it would be to accelerate that. But, you know, with advances in technology, maybe it would be easier. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we totally have the technology for it. It costs too much resources and money
Mm-hmm.
to do that, and probably a lot more time too.
Yeah.
What about space fleet?
Fleet, fleet, yeah.
Fleet.
Fleet.
All yours, Daniel.
So this one is it might actually be the easiest to pull off because you're not building a separate space station. You just have ships, and it depends on the scale. If you want a huge ship, then you're going to take little ships to build a bigger ship. But the basic premise is that with a fleet designed space base, the whole thing is able to move through space, and if there's an emergency, like we were saying, you can just move. Yeah, so, and it doesn't mean that you can't take a fleet style space base and convert it into modular. It's basically like modular, but with their own individual engines.
Yeah.
So if you think of each little thing with engines, so they could go everywhere, but they're connected.
Are they?
No, but they can be.
That's the thing, though. I feel like even all the things that we're talking about, it's like, how do we say it? Like, you can mix and match it. Like, you can turn a module into the styles of like the one Braun one too. Because I think you briefly mentioned about Interstellar, right?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. The ship in Interstellar, I believe, was modular, and they just connected it in a ring formation.
Yeah.
So yeah, if and I believe if we go back to SpaceX, there was a design for like a gravitational idea. So it's basically taking 3 starships. One is the middle hub, and then you have 2 on the outside connected by a long arm. And then these spin in a circle, so it's spinning. And that effectively is the von Braun system, but instead of it being a wheel, you have a middle ship and a big arm, and it's spinning and it's creating gravity. So you can have these like a star fleet, and then you have little bridges from one ship to another. And I guess there's pros and cons to that because, if you're all connected, if something goes bad, it affects everything. So, but same thing, if you have a star fleet, which is all connected into this modular idea, then you are increasing your living space. So.
I mean, I feel like if it's a fleet, then it shouldn't be connected. Although maybe you can have like, have you ever watched The Expanse where they have like sort of
Oh yeah, like a
connected to it, so you can close it and then open it up anytime you want to move something or somebody's over.
Right. If not that, then we would have little shuttles. Transport shuttles between the fleets, between the ships within the fleet.
Yeah, I mean, do you think like, definitely modulars is gonna be a thing. What about what next? Um, what would be next? That's what I meant. Like, you think we could be potentially like making a bunch of like starships?
Well, the only one that we have right now is the ISS, and that's a modular system.
Yeah.
But it does have its own propulsion system that it can speed up, slow down, move left, move right, move up, move down. But it's not really designed for long distance travel, you know? So I think if you look at how the ISS was built, it was different spaceships bringing up one part and then another part and then another part. And if you do that over Mars, it's going to take forever and it's going to take a lot of money. If we were to do that, you would have to build another ISS above Earth and then shoot it over there. And I think instead of building a whole space station and then going over there, maybe a fleet design would be best. You just have giant ships and they're already designed to move. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Were you gonna say something?
No, nothing.
Was it the other day you mentioned something to do with the gateway thing as well? What was that?
Yeah. So for the Artemis mission to the moon, what NASA's planning is to create like a mini ISS called Gateway, and this is going to help astronauts get off the lunar surface and back into zero G, orbiting the moon. And what this does is that instead of, because it's kind of risky going from Earth to the moon nonstop, so you can have a lunar base and have a gateway base, so you can conduct zero G experiments, reduced gravity experiments. So we would actually go from Earth to Gateway and then Gateway to the moon, which would be a modular design.
Yeah, so I think with the gateway ideas, like we can do the same with like our space base too, like something that in Mars orbit. I don't know, maybe welcoming like all the space tourists or something, where everybody's docked there, and then maybe they take a smaller spacecraft down to the surface. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, and especially since if people are following what's going on with SpaceX, their designs are always changing. So like with Starship, it used to have legs. Now they're saying no legs. They're just going to catch it. But when you get to the moon, you need legs. So you have one capsule that goes from Gateway to the moon, but it will never come back to the Earth. And then the same thing, you can't have a lunar module be caught. Well, so because the designs are always changing, it might just be necessary to have something like Gateway. Not just a nice idea.
So I guess now that we like kind of cover like all different types of like space bait that we could, that we could choose from. maybe before we close off, we could talk a little bit about how we could implement this into our designs, and then yeah, because I feel like after this live session next week, we're gonna probably have something more engaging, kind of like activities regarding designing space as well. So I don't know. Anybody want to put their like personal inputs of like if they were to choose from these four, what would they go for and then why? Why do you think it would be good or not? Anything like that?
For me, of course, I will go with modular,
Mm-hmm.
the modular, because yeah, as I said, it's kind of realistic and is save cost
Mm-hmm.
and safety benefits.
Mm-hmm.
About safety benefits, yeah, for me, if we have to bring human to live on my orbiter, yeah, I would go for the modular one.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I would actually agree, although I like the idea of the fleet system because you can move around,
Yeah,
and not just little movement. Like it's like, okay, Mars was nice, let's go to Venus, and you can do it. You just turn on the engine and go.
Yeah.
So if we can design sort of a mix between modular and fleet,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the best.
Mm. I mean,
Even though
guys,
the tubes and the wheels are cool. So
yeah, I mean, I think was it one brown one probably gonna be the closest because personally I like one brown one and then the fleet style too. The fleet simply because I think it's cool if you ended up be one of the crew and spending your life long, was it deep space missions or whatsoever. Battlestar Galactica is cool. I mean, why not, right? What's that? Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's kind of nice because imagine if you can go any place too if you want to go out venture into the deep space for scientific purposes, and then if you need it to defend your colony, you can just equip like all the artillery and
right.
yeah. But with the one brown, I'm probably gonna go with the one brown one. If we're not gonna get into like war and conflict and stuff. I would like a proper big like living stations, and gravity is a big thing. So I don't like the ideas of being in modulars. I feel that's a little dreadful. So with these wheel styles, right? You can have gyms, you can have movie theaters, you can have all these kind of things. Wow,
Yeah.
be able to like be in gravity.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the military idea,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at an aircraft carrier, it holds 3,000 people. It has movie theaters. It has different recreation. It can hold other ships inside of it, aircraft inside of it, and it
Yeah.
has all these services. So I can see all of these potentially working if you adjust the scale. So let's say you have a modular design that's the size of an aircraft carrier, something big. One module is a gym, one module is sleeping, one module is eating, but not like the space station. Like bigger. So
Yeah.
All of these could work. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about the O'Neill though, just because it seems so big, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody have a doubt. It's pretty sci-fi way to. It's like you can fit
Well,
the
you never
entire
know.
like mountains in there.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous, but I mean, why go to Mars if you can just build a O'Neill cylinder? So you
Yeah.
have your
Right.
world in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think today is enough, right? Anybody have anything to say?
You asking us or you asking the audience?
Uh,
Yeah, both
yeah.
you guys and
Um,
the audience.
is this going to be up for a vote, or is this just something for people to think about?
Well, the thing about it for now, I'm gonna post another post for voting later. And then
Okay.
so basically sort of what's gonna be up hopefully soon. It's either later tonight, tomorrow, or by today. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. So once you vote, right, one of these is the next stage is we have to design based off what we chose to go
What
with.
people vote. Mm.
Yeah. And then you can design it however you want, whatever color you want and stuff, and then we can see. And then from there we're gonna help. It's like we're collecting information, right? And at the end of the day we're gonna try to visualize it, like we actually visualize it using 3D. So I'm modeling it later. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's it, guy, for me.
Yeah, okay, so we hope we can see you guys, I mean the audience, next 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 week. And today we thank you about talking with us, and
Yeah.
bye bye.
Thank you, Henry, and thank
Thank
you,
you,
Phone,
Daniel,
to
too.
Marisha, yeah, for interact with us.
Bye
Good day,
bye.
guys. Ciao.